Welcome back to For Perspective. I'm Bill. Today we've got a bunch of different news stories stemming from Apple to AI all the way to return to office. This is Season 2, Episode 2 of For Perspective, and let's get right into it. I've got a bunch of different news articles to cover today. Ars Technica reported it's getting harder to skirt return to office rules. And this one hits a little bit close to home for me, but it reads about how companies are tightening badge analytics and presence to push a return to office. Now, we've seen a bunch of different headlines recently. Many of the big tech companies have been trying to get people back into the office full time, and then the workforce pushes back, like, I don't need to be in the office full time. So a lot of these companies are still on like a 3-day a week in the office type of thing. I think it's an interesting take on return to office if the company is pushing you to be on site and then they're going to, big brother you to death, tracking your badging in and out of the site. A lot of these jobs are salary jobs. Whether you're on site or not may not make a huge difference in your overall performance. Now, personally, I think there are some industries that benefit to an on-site presence. I am a mechanical engineer, so I work at a place that makes a physical product. Seeing that physical product has helped me throughout my career. I don't really fully grasp what I'm working on unless I see it in person. So, plenty of people aren't like me, though, and they could pull up a model in NX or Team Center or whatever and look at the 3D model or look at the 2D drawing and fully understand what they're doing. But until you see the thing, or until I see the thing, I guess, in person, it doesn't really fully click to me. And then there are benefits to being on the site where the part is being manufactured, because then you get to walk the process with all of the manufacturing engineers. You can see the qualms that people have when they are making the part, and that can influence the design in a future iteration. So just like, anything else, return to office, there's going to be people that work remote that are ineffective and, need supervision, who are just mailing it in to get a paycheck. But there's plenty of people who are working remotely that have the ability to get the job done and perform at a high level without being on site. So like I said, I've never worked in tech myself, but I would assume that just like anywhere else, individual contributors could work remote just as easily as they could, in a mechanical engineering setting. That sort of streamlines to the next topic from Mac Rumors about Apple losing talent to AI rivals. Now, there's been a big to-do recently. Meta has been trying to steal AI talent from everybody: Apple, OpenAI, Anthropic. Anybody that has, any semblance of experience with AI and AI research and AI products, Meta has been trying to pay large sums of money to get people to come over to their company. This talent war is just insane. Like, as somebody who works in the engineering field, like, I could feasibly go probably do one of these jobs from a product management or project management standpoint, but like an 8 to 10 year product manager job for OpenAI is in like the $350,000 to $500,000 range for salary plus equity. Now, of course, you have to live in California. They have an on-site policy, but that's just wow. Like, I don't make anywhere near that. Let's just put that out there. So, but as a fellow engineer, I probably have the capability to go manage a AI project just as easily as I do an aerospace project. So it's crazy to me how these companies that have super high profits have driven salaries up that high, but I guess it makes sense. And then, speaking of OpenAI, there's been a couple of OpenAI headlines in the news this week. They've got a new $500 billion valuation, and it says projected 2025 revenue nears $20 billion. So revenue is the money that they are making before all of their expenses. This article from Reuters says only 10% of users pay. A worrying 42% of AI deployments failed in 2025, raising profitability concerns. So I Googled and did some searching. I couldn't find their earnings anywhere. So OpenAI is not a public company. So I have no idea if $20 billion in revenue is good, bad, sustainable. If, I would personally be shocked if they are making money due to how expensive compute is and standing up all of the data centers to power these new models that they keep coming out with. Speaking of new models that they keep coming out with, GPT-5 launched this past week, and it is now the default. So I still pay for a ChatGPT Plus subscription. GPT-5 is now the default model. There are only 2 of them. So I actually love this change because it was really difficult to figure out what model may or may not perform best for the task that you were asking it. They claim GPT-5 is now smart enough to figure that out for you. So you just type in your prompt or your question as you would, and it will figure out whether it needs to use advanced reasoning or so it's GPT-5, and then there's GPT-5 thinking that takes a little bit longer. But both models have reasoning built in. And of course, in an Apple-like statement, they said, this is the fastest, smartest, best model ever created, sort of thing is what the marketing was. So I've actually been using it for the last week. The responses are pretty good. It's but it's still kind of early AI. It does have its issues. Wouldn't say I got it to hallucinate badly, but I was using it to help me with some Apple shortcuts and a Notion page, and I definitely had to jab at it a few times, but that's not even an option in Apple shortcuts. What do you mean? What are you asking me to do, sort of thing? Oh yeah, that's right. In Apple shortcuts, it's called this, use this action, sort of thing. So, I mean, it's just like any AI, I guess, recently, that the more you know about the topic that you're putting into the AI, maybe the more frustrating the answers are. But at least that gives you a little bit of an edge up that you know how to troubleshoot. And it seemed to do pretty well with a really long chat, making a lengthy Apple shortcut that had URL APIs going in and out of it. And apparently iPhones are going to be getting more expensive. Mac Rumors ran an article about a 15% iPhone tariff surcharge for U.S. imports. So starting October 1st, says Apple will add a line item, tariff surcharge to U.S. bound iPhone invoices. So far, Apple's done a nice job of insulating consumers from this. They basically said the fee will be removed when the tariffs are lifted. But I think this is what we all thought was going to happen. I wouldn't expect the world's largest company to just eat the cost in this space, in this instance, and not pass the costs back on to consumers, which is what Apple is doing now. So the pressures of Wall Street to keep performing quarter over quarter, have better earnings, higher revenue, higher earnings, always be doing more, better, faster, cheaper, has finally come to fruition. And Apple has definitely been a laggard stock this year in the market. And they've been doing some things recently to try to turn that around for them. And then a couple more quick stories that I thought were good. I didn't read too much into these, but The Verge from August 5th says AMD reports record quarterly CPU sales outpacing Intel. And I saw this, and just the note that I took on the headline was, how is Intel still in business? Apple has dropped them now with Apple Silicon. AMD seems to be doing better in the PC space than Intel is. I haven't built a gaming PC in a while, but I don't even know what chip I would choose at this point if I was going to do that. I just thought that this was funny. I haven't really thought about Intel at all since leaving the PC space and going full Mac. And at the time, AMD with Ryzen was still working out some of the kinks. So it wasn't super stable and wouldn't have been something that I would have picked. And then there was a firmware update for the MagSafe charger. So there's a new version of the firmware in a MagSafe charger. And I thought that this was interesting because I posed the question, like, did you even know that chargers have firmware? It's something that I never really thought about. I thought for some reason that the phone was controlling all of this because of, obviously you want to see the temperature, the current, and some of the data going into the phone so it knows what rate it should be charging at, et cetera. But I never really thought about, well, what is it communicating with? Well, it's communicating with the hardware inside of the charger. So I don't know if I have to do anything. I think when you put the phone on the charger, it will automatically update. I think it's one of those kind of difficult things to do, just like updating AirPods firmware. But I never thought about that, so I thought it was interesting. And then the last story for today, before I get into a few more updates on the channel, was about ElevenLabs launching an AI music service for creators. So this one's more directed at me, but I've been using Artlist for a long time, at least 2 years. Initially, I had a couple of YouTube channels going, so I wanted to cover more than one. And it's rather expensive for the max plan. It's like $500 a year or something after tax. It also comes with footage and LUTs and templates for Final Cut Pro and some plugins and a bunch more, like a whole lot more than just music and sound effects for that price, plus the ability to use all of that stuff in a commercial setting in my business. But this kind of has me questioning if I could downgrade that to something cheaper. I did go in and create an ElevenLabs account now and kind of want to see like what it would cost to get. I really only use music kind of at the beginning and the end of my videos and podcasts, but it might be something that's interesting. It's, royalty free, and you can type in what kind of music you want it to sound like, and it supposedly generates something for you to use in your videos. So definitely something to think about. I know YouTube has been expanding its sound library as well for royalty-free stuff, and everything's getting more and more high quality the better this AI stuff gets. All right, that was a lot of news packed into this week's episode. It is August as I'm recording this, the 10th, and Apple Freeform is my app of the month. I just released that video this past Saturday, so go check that out if you haven't seen it already. It's performing really well, and people seem to be engaged in the comments. And you can check out more on my newsletter, The Digital Pulse, which releases every Sunday. All of these links will be in the description below, including everything that I talked about with the news stories. And if you found me on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. Follow along if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and drop me a comment to keep the conversation going. As always, thanks for listening to For Perspective, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.